Transparency. It's not really as clear as we might like it to be, especially among Christians. We can be good at talking about our struggles in the sense of testimonies, where we give glory to God over how far we've come. Much less common in this community, however, is the here and now sense of transparency, where you talk about what your struggles are concerning this present day. You know, there's a saying for issues like these: sad people make dope music. Well, maybe it hasn't caught on yet, but thanks to Mogli making it the title of his latest EP, the phrase has gotten a lot more backing to it. Welcome everyone, it's SimIAm, and today we'll be taking a good look at Mogli the Iceburg and his newest project. As always, thank you for your time in watching this, and I'll try to be quick, so let's get right into the review. Mogli has a penchant for portraying some of the more grim realities of our world. However, he seems to have taken a much different approach here. This EP focuses a lot more on Mogli himself, as the songs tend to speak from a very personal place. And true to the EP's title, you could say that Mogli is not in the happiest place throughout this short journey. He's not exactly moping though, just in case the title could lead you to believe that he's really just sad on every song. Instead, we have something like exasperation from Mogli. It really feels like he's putting his foot down this time around. In the intro song, Nothing Nice to Say, we find him admitting that he essentially won't waste time talking if he doesn't have anything good to say. However, it's really a lot more than that. The truth is, Mogli seems to have found out that people can't handle the truth or having things told to them straight. When Mogli doesn't have anything nice to say, it's more so that he's not willing to sugarcoat his message just to put people at ease. The song also doubles as a warning for us listeners, as he really puts it all out there in the next 5 songs. For example, Matt723 has him giving an honest-to-God confession about how he's been feeling distant towards God, and, more generally speaking, walking out the narrow path as described in the Bible. On top of that, Mogli shares a particularly powerful message here, in case we listeners thought his music was just for show or for fun. According to this song, music isn't just a job or a hobby for him, but it's also one of his few escapes in life. All of the music we see him putting out might not necessarily be just because he's so eager and excited to make more songs. Sometimes it might be more because he'd break from all of his mental and emotional pressure if he didn't vent through a powerful outlet such as music. Moving on from that, we have Real Thing and Some of Y'all, which sort of work as two sides of the same coin. Real Thing vividly paints the inner workings of Mogli's turmoil. We get to see how his anxieties and troubles have played into his life recently. The song definitely has a weight to it, as though the burden upon Mogli's shoulders were the oppressive duo of doubt and the general unknown in life. Some of Y'all, meanwhile, is more like the result or the outward expression of Mogli. At the same time he's battling himself, he likewise battles what could only be described as nonsense coming his way. However, unlike his inner problems, which are much more gray or dubious in nature, Mogli is very black and white about what he'll tolerate from others. As he says in the song, he's gotten colder with time, and has decided that his time is too valuable to be wasted. And it's not as though he's saying he wouldn't help someone in need of it. It seems more so like he's done with people who are all talk, haters, people just trying to use him, and so on. When you think about it, it's actually a bit of a convicting message, at least for me. I can easily think of how much time I've wasted giving my time and peace to people who truly didn't need it. All That I Can, our next song, sees Mogli using that hard-hitting and straightforward style of his to give some unadulterated advice to his listeners. He tells us that at the end of the day, we may never end up on the big stage or wherever exactly we dreamed of being in life. However, he does exhort us in saying that regardless of how short we fall of our own ambitions, nothing will be wasted when it comes to seeking and fulfilling God's will as long as we breathe. Mogli offers solace to go along with that sentiment, saying that he'll personally do all he can, but it will ultimately be out of his hands and left up to God concerning what happens. It's not exactly the most optimistic piece of advice, but it's nonetheless true and a good way to remind everyone of how truly limited time is. The final song here is a unique case, as it's a cover of the band Under Oath and their song, Reinventing Your Exit. I checked the lyrics of both, and it's very lyrically faithful as well. To be honest, I think the song is here for a reason other than thematic content, but I'll get into that a little later. Overall, this EP is an interesting set of songs that really focus on Mowgli's psyche and how he's been interacting with the world around him as well as with God. What makes it unique is the startlingly honest lyrics, the sort of confessions and transparency that you'd probably reserve only for the closest of friends. Sad People Make Dope Music might sell itself a little short with that title. Mogli isn't just sad, it really sounds like he's going through some tough times in this EP. These tough times have been and are continually honing him into a newer person, one who puts up with no nonsense and speaks how he feels. If I had to summarize it, I would say that the pressure around him has seemingly sharpened his craft. Now, although Mogli has a very familiar rapping style, the exact way it's presented has been noticeably different with each of his projects. In fact, of all the Indie Tribe members, I would confidently say that Mogli is the definitive wildcard artist. This EP truly brings out that aspect of his music in a complimentary way. Mogli seems to be at his most comfortable with fast-paced beats that feel methodically frantic. That's a lot of what we see here, with each song taking on a particular flavor of intense emotion. Given the way the EP's lyrics lay everything bare, I would say that the production keeps things from perhaps feeling a little too intense. The combined feeling gives the sense that these thoughts and lyrics are rapidly pouring out of Mogli's heart. So fast, in fact, that it can be a little difficult to grasp any particular thought and become completely absorbed in it. In a way, the production feels like a bit of a shield to help listeners from feeling the full force of everything Mogli is talking about. Whether or not that's a bad thing is up for debate, but my guess is that Mogli intentionally put up a bit of a buffer for our sake rather than his. If there were one song I'd want to discuss at further length, though, it would easily be Reinventing Your Exit. Of course, lyrically it's a cover of Under Oath's original, but sound-wise, it's a hip-hop song that behaves more like a rock song, with the beat bouncing between rhythmic and thrashing. The other big thing with this song is that Mogli demonstrates some vocal capabilities that many of his listeners probably weren't aware of already. This cover is perhaps even more intense, screaming-wise, than the original song, which is saying a lot. The fact that he could do a cover with this much passion communicates to me that this is perhaps a type of sound we might be seeing more of in the future. At the very least, it's a noteworthy departure from his usual hip-hop mold, and it's certainly one of his most authentic sounding songs, even if it is a cover. When it comes to how this EP sounds, I can overall say that the beats and atmospheres might have you feeling as explosive as Mogli at times. From my point of view, it's a very fitting environment when you combine everything, and he sounds pretty natural on each song. Thanks to nothing being out of place in the production, Mogli's messages never feel too watered down or drowned out, while simultaneously never hitting you too hard as to take you out of the music completely. While it's not Mogli's most expansive project, containing just 6 songs, it does a good job of giving you exactly what he intends to from the start. This makes the EP highly accessible and, perhaps more importantly, highly relatable. Whether it's avoiding God, feeling fed up with people, or just generally wrestling against your own emotions, there's a lot to make you think about your own life here. In that sense, the EP is a strong conversation starter, whether it's with yourself or a friend. Another thing to consider is that, for people who may be in the middle of a fierce battle for their own peace of mind, this EP may bring them a lot of comfort in knowing that they're not alone. I mean, putting aside the production for a moment, this is honestly the sort of music that gets people through some dark times in life. It may seem like some quick 6 songs, but the amount of transparency in this project definitely spoke to me on a personal level. So again, I wouldn't say that it was Mogli's best project so far. However, I would say that it's probably his most straightforward and unabashedly personal one yet. This EP brings a shock in a way that his other projects haven't, and for that I'd recommend it. This recommendation goes regardless of your familiarity with Mogli. Old fans will most likely find it high quality, while for new listeners, this is probably the quickest and most accurate introduction to Mowgli's music thus far. So, to sum up my thoughts, a solid EP, not outright better than the best of his albums, but it does a really great job of showing the most vulnerable and human side of Mowgli. The sound is a bit experimental while keeping true to Mowgli's essence as an artist, and the lyrics are relatable on a deeply personal level. All those things shape up to make a project that I definitely enjoyed, but naturally those are only my thoughts, and so I leave the final say to you all. What did you guys really think about this EP? It's been out for a little time now, so I'm curious to hear how this one sat with you guys. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace out.